everybody. Hello, everybody. All right. Huh. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Uh. Mm. Uh. 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 Mm. All right. All right. Hey, everybody. How are you all? All right. It is so good to see you all. Let me switch screens here. Um, so I can talk to you all and see you all at the same time. All right. So let me make sure I say hello to everyone. Leon, how's it going? Glad you made it in. Boston, it's good to see you. Ebenezer Nane, hello. Freshums, hey. Dave, glad you made it in. Gina, how are you? Sam, how's it going? Thanks, Sam. Kanye, how's it going? I appreciate that, Kanye. Um, let's see who else. Kay, how are you? Shayla, how are you? Shirley, how are you as well? Glad you made it on. Joshua, good to see you. Let's see. Gina says apparently I need to practice. We all need to practice. And let's see who else is here. Kanye says looking for this G sharp and C sharp. All right, from to hit it. Did I hit it? Okay, he says there we go. Okay, great, I hit it. All right. Leon says, Corey, I ordered your online piano course. Can I download it, or is it only available to view through the website? Well, Leon, first off, thanks so much for ordering the online piano course. Um, uh, as right now, it's available through the website, but send me an email and we can talk some more, okay? So just make sure you send me an email. All right. All right. Fabe Luna says, oh, thanks, Fabe. Dave, thank you for doing this. You're welcome. Hey, Henrico. Hey, Mar. Hey, Cephas. What's going on? Okay. All right, everybody. Well, let's go ahead and get started. All right. Well, if this is your first time here, thank you so much for coming. My name is Corey Taylor from SkilledMusician.com, where we are helping musicians improve. Now, today's topic is a really interesting one. It's on how to practice. So let's not waste any time. Let's get started. Okay, so this is a concept that I've talked about here and there about, and I might have done a video in the past about it, but I wanted to come back and do another video and maybe a little bit longer form. So instead of a 5 or 7 minute video about it, or just like a minute sound bite, I wanted to come and make sure you had some real definitive stuff and able to ask some questions. All right. Now, let me just first off start off by saying there are many different practice models, templates. I have researched this topic ad nauseum over the years. I have maybe, I don't know how many different practice templates I've created for myself, for my own practice routines. And I used to have them taped up on the wall, different practice routines. So I'm very familiar with this topic, and I understand that there are a lot of different practice routines. But what I wanted to do was kind of give you some principles that you could use in your practice routines. So as this one's not going to be so much about playing. I might play a little bit to kind of maybe demonstrate some of these ideas. But today we're going to talk a little bit. Most of my videos are on playing and demonstrating some ideas, but I wanted to talk some with you all. Okay, so while I'm teaching, I would like to hear from you all. What do you think are the main things you should work on in a practice session? So go ahead and write in the chat, what are some of the main things you should work on in a practice session? All right. Okay. So what do you think are the main things you should work on when you practice? Should you work on runs? Should you work on, like, what is it that you should work on? All right, so Ade says voicings. Amar says technique. Dave says repertoire. Sam says playing in all keys. Fabi says scales, arpeggios, and progressions. Scales, technique, songs, transcribing, fingering, and scales. Okay. All right, so I want to break this down into, and all those answers are great. And if you see me looking over here, it's because I wrote down a whole list of stuff that I want to share with you. So I'm going to keep referencing it over here just to make sure I don't miss anything. So let me just count. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 to 8 big core concepts that I think you should definitely hit. Okay. All right. So the first thing is, and tell you what, before I even get started, let me share this link with you all. I created a free package where I give you my practice template, my practice journal, and then like kind of help you if you're a gospel musician or a jazz musician, a checklist um, for different for areas that you need to work on. So like I tried to list every area as a gospel musician that you would need to work on. And so let me put that link here. Um, and so all you do is put your name and email and then confirm your email. Go to your email account and confirm the email, and it'll download to your computer this zip folder with all this information for you. It's free, so it's right there in the chat box. Okay. All right. So let's jump right in. What is the first thing you should do at any practice session? How should you approach your practice sessions? Well, the first thing you need to do is plan. You need to plan your practice sessions before you start. What often happens is students will start practicing, um, and and before long it turns into like just I'm just shedding, I'm just playing, I'm just playing stuff now. I'm playing stuff I know, and you've left the idea of practicing, and now you're just kind of shedding and just kind of having fun musically. Now there's definitely a time to do that. That's definitely important. But if you've set aside this time to practice, then you need to make sure you're practicing. Now let's talk in depth about the planning of your practice session. Okay, so the planning, we have your overarching plan. So we call it your macro plan, and then your micro plan. Okay, so let's talk about the macro plan, mean overarching plan. Okay, I generally, for me, I generally try to have a plan for a year, like an overarching practice plan for a year, and then I'll have like 4 month segments, and then I'll break it down weekly and then daily. So that's kind of 4 levels of planning that I try to create for my practice plans. So the upper level might be I want to be able to, if, as a gospel musician, I might say I want to be able to play uh, talk music like Jason Tyson in every key, or or something, I want to play convention style talk music um, in every key uh, for 30 minutes without repeating ideas, being able to flow. And so that's my goal for the year. I want to master this style of playing, whatever that thing is for you. Right. So that might be my goal for the year. Um, and then I might say for this first 4 month section, I'm going to study one person. I'm going to, so that'll be my goal. For this first part of the year, I'm going to study one person. Um, and that's like one area, right? There are multiple areas to my musicianship. So that's like one area, but there are other things I'm working on as well. So I might say for my technique, I want to be able to play all my major and minor scales at 150, 16 notes at 150 beats per minute, 4 octaves, right? And so that's my technique work. And so, so there are different areas, but you want to have a macro plan, um, semi macro, and then all the way down to micro. So yearly plan. Now some people don't do a yearly plan. Some just do a month out, right? I know many artists, professional artists, only do a month out or 2 weeks out, right? I like doing a year out to kind of give my year a plan, and then I like to break it up, right? Now let's move to micro. Now one of the reasons why I gave that link in the chat box is because I give you my practice journal, how I actually approach each practice session. So before I start practicing, I have a journal that I fill out, and it starts with time, date, right? Time started. What is the objective for this practice session? What am I trying to accomplish? And I started doing this because I found that my practice sessions were unfocused, right? And so I would write down what I wanted to accomplish. And so anytime I started to slide away from that, I remember that's not my goal. My goal is to get this idea, drop two voicings in every key or whatever the goal for these three keys, whatever the goal is. And so the practice journal helped me. And so then this is what I started doing. And all this is in that link that I put in the chat box. So you can grab this if you don't already have it. So then I uh, I tell my objective for this practice session, right? And then I go through the practice session. Then when I'm finished, I write down the time I ended. I write down what I actually accomplished. So I write down my objective initially, what I want to accomplish, but then I write down what I actually accomplished. Sometimes I accomplish everything on my objective list. Sometimes I don't, right? And then I write down my thoughts. And this is might be the most valuable portion of my practice plan. My thoughts. Because in my practice sessions, I discover so much. It's un it's unbelievable how much I learned from my thoughts about my practice session, right? And so I'll discover so much. This is why it's important to practice, because there's so much that you discover in your practice sessions. And for me, when I'm practicing, I think I learn more and come up with more ideas about stuff I need to know than what I actually practice. Like when I'm practicing is one idea, but then I leave with like 30 ideas of stuff I need to know. And it's like this amazing process. So it's like, oh wow, and I get new ideas, creative ideas, right? And that happens in the practice session. And you want to keep a journal of that. And over time, you can see your progress. You can see what you are working on. And so that's the first thing you need to do. You need to plan your practice sessions from macro level, the big level, to micro level, right? Right. So let me see if I can't pull up a practice journal. I won't be able to show you all right now because I didn't load it into this thing. But let's see. I'm just going to go to one of my practice journals and this is one I pulled up, one from 2015. I was practicing the song "I Will Bless the Lord" in three keys: C, E, and B flat. That was the objective. And you know the song, "I will bless the Lord, oh my soul, alone, God is within me." That song. Let's see. So what were my thoughts? Oh yeah. So I had two thoughts: be decisive on the direction I'm going, and the necessary physicality to go there. Right. And the second thought was I need more language, especially on 2/5s. Um, so so those are two huge things. Be decisive on the direction I'm going. So if I want to go a particular direction, harmonically or voicing wise, I go there. But then also be cognizant of the physicality I need to get there. And so I can't kind of halfway commit to getting there. Right. That was a big thing for me. Um, let's see. Um, let's see. Here we go. Let's see. This is from 2016, January 22nd, 2016. Um, my thoughts. Well, I have a lot of thoughts here. I can't share them all. I mean, just because it take too long. Well, so it's a lot. Okay, my thought was I was working on some talk music from B.J. Brown. Um, so I was studying his talk music, and I said, okay, I'm gonna study it and really come up with these ideas. And then I realized I had some thoughts. One thought was his talk music is melody based, so there are only one or two melodies that are the main melodies, and then he explores the implications of those melodies. And so I said, for me, can I find 10 melodies and do the same idea? That was one thought. I have here like 8 thoughts. Yeah, I think I have 8 thoughts there. So that's an example of kind of some of my thoughts and then where they take me. And so they kind of take me to my next practice session. So now, was I able to find 10 melodies, and or that might be my next practice session. It's just so it's the deeper level of thoughts about the playing, being honest with how I sound, and coming up with these things. All right. So that's the first level of analysis, or a first level when you're wanting to practice, is plan. You must plan. Now, I want to share something that I'm not. Well, I guess I should share it now. Okay. All right. So one of the biggest misconceptions about improvement is that uh, is that you work on one idea forever, like until you master it. So you don't work on anything else until you master this one idea. And like people think improvement goes by steps. So people think when you improve, like once I get this thing, then I'll be here. And then once I get this thing, then I'll be here. But but in actuality, that's not the way we go from level to level. That's not the way we even learn. Um, what's interesting is there's a big YouTuber, Scott's Bass Lessons, um, and he just released this player's path, which is like a guided path to like going from basic to advanced, right? Which is an amazing idea, right? It's phenomenal. But he did an interview and said, kind of, I don't really believe in that idea. That's not the way we really learn. It's what students want, but it's not the way we really learn. We really learn, we reach something over here, and then we reach something over here, and we reach for something here, and we reach for something here, right? Think about the way you learned in school. Did you only take math all day? No, you took math and social studies, then English, then history, and PE, and you had all these subjects, and you reached up, and it's the same way with music. There are so many topics to cover, and to work only on one thing forever until you have it, is not fun, and it's kind of counterintuitive, like. And so I want to and so I talk about mastering an idea all the time, but you can be working on more than one idea. So it might be, Monday, Wednesday, Friday I work on this idea, Tuesday I work on another idea, Thursday I work on another idea, Saturday maybe another idea. And so you're constantly keeping ideas in rotation. Now there's some theories about this, like you want to have one idea that you're learning in the main rotation, like you want to work on it more, and then you bring in another idea. And so, and then you bring in another idea, and the main idea that you've worked on the most, you kind of work on it less as you start working on these other ideas, but you still work on it. So, however you do it, but the point is, these ideas, it's not just one idea you work on nonstop, right? That's not the way we learn. Okay. Um, all right. So that's the first area. Plan your practice sessions. Plan your practice sessions. Now, again, so let me reiterate because I want to make sure this is clear. The plan for the whole year, I might come up with that at the beginning of the year, or maybe sometime in December or January, right? The plan for the year. The plan for the next 4 months, I might do that at the same time. But the plan for the day, I do it when I'm about to practice. So let's say I'm going to practice right now. The first thing I do is pull out my journal and start writing or typing for my ideas for that day. So I do it. That's the first part of my practice session. Let's say, is writing down my objective for that day. Right now, I already have the overarching deal, so I know where I want to go. But then also, I am free. Right. So let's say I want to. My goal is to learn this thing, but my mind and right now my heart wants to go here, and there's something that I'm really trying to learn that I need to learn. Right. I will go and grab that and learn it because that's what I need to do in the moment. Okay. All right. So that's the first thing. Plan out. Plan it out. Plan it out. And you need to ask questions. What do I need to improve with? What area of my playing needs to improve? Right? What area of my playing needs to improve? And then write out a plan for you. So I'll put the link in the chat for those that just came late. I have a link. Um, I created it's a zip file. It's free. That I give you my practice journal, practice template, how to actually do it. I also give you like a checklist if you're a gospel musician, a checklist if you're a jazz musician of areas that you need to um, improve on. Right? I even show you I think I even included like my strengths and weaknesses, my like show you how to do it. So anyway, there you go. That's the first area, plan. Let's keep going. All right, the next area is technique. Technique. Now you've all heard me talk about technique, and I always say, you should have your own technique session, right? That's different than your practice session. So technique is its own thing. Like you should always be working on technique. All right. So what are some technique things to work on? Well, you can work on, scales, arpeggios, yeah. Like scales like your major, your minor, your pentatonics, yes. Arpeggios. That's kind of first level. And then you can start doing like creative practice with your scales. Because practicing um, that that's cool. But I'm a big fan of splitting my practice session or killing two birds with one stone. What I mean by that is I want to practice stuff that I will use in a playing situation. And sometimes, this is important to practice. That's important to practice. All right. But you can practice them in different ways. You can practice them in thirds. Right. So that's broken thirds. You can practice them. So you can practice them. Let's see. That's kind of fun. In thirds like that, in tenths. All right. You can create kind of weird leaps like fourths or fifths or sixths. So let's do fifths. Start on C, go up a fifth. I'm doing the C major scale, so then go up, leap back down a fifth, then go up, leap up. And you do it diatonically. So this is like a diminished fifth. This would be a perfect fifth. But we're going to stay diatonic to the key of C. All right, so. Right, and do it both hands. And you can come up with these really, 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 really cool stuff that you can use. Let me show you one that I love doing. There's a pentatonic, like so pentatonic. That's something I practice. Or like diminished in thirds, so diminished scale. So in minor thirds. So like stuff like that. So that stuff I'll use like for real, like in a setting. Like I don't know. Let me try to think of some place where I might use that. Let's see. Let's do a 2-5-1 to F minor. So. I don't know. That was kind of weird. I don't know. Well, yeah, that's where I would use some place like that, something like that, right? So I want to practice my scales and stuff in a way that I'll use it, and not just kind of in a boring, just beating it constantly, and it gets boring like that. Okay, but there's more to technique than just scales and arpeggios. There's dexterity, there's touch, um, there's arm weight, there's rotation, studying different techniques like Alexander technique, Taubman technique, right? Um, and so you can really spend a lot of time working on your technique, and you should, because you this is how you this is the mechanism with which you express yourself musically, and so you want to make sure you're expressing yourself with the best technique possible. Okay. All right. Let me put uh, the link one more time in the description in the chat box, and I'll put this in the description box if you're watching this later. All right. So all you that want that zip file is you just put your email in, your name and email, and a confirmation will come to your email address, because we want to with stuff like this we get a lot of spam, so we want to confirm that you're a human. So what you do is go to your email address and just click confirm on the email that comes in, and then the file will download to your computer. Okay, so you got to confirm your email address through your email account. So go to your email address, your email account, whether you use Outlook or Apple Mail or Gmail, wherever you had it sent, go there and confirm your email address. You'll get an email from us, confirm it, and then it'll download. Okay, so the first thing is plan. Then we're gonna work on technique, and there's so much in technique. Just even how you sit, how your hand is positioned at the piano. I played for 18 years and realized I was playing with bad technique, and it was causing me injury. Um, I was trying to model how Keith Jarrett, Chick Corea, and Kevin Bond played, um, and uh, it was completely wrong, and it was causing injury. Like I went through a period where I could not play. I had pain for about 2 weeks, and so I sought help. I went to a classical teacher for technique. I saw a jazz guy for technique, and between the two of them, I was able to overcome some of these issues. Okay, so technique is the next thing. Now, the next idea I have uh, is concepts. 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 Um, and maybe I will. Let me just talk quickly about concepts, but I'm going to talk about them a lot in other areas. So let me just quickly talk about them. So what I mean by concepts is there might be something you thought about. What if I can do this here? Does that work here? Or I heard a friend of mine say he does this here. Let me practice that. So that's a concept idea. Or for my channel, I'm oftentimes presenting concepts. Like, sure, you can play it how you can try to learn it how I played it, but more so, I want you to, you can do that, but I'm presenting concepts so you can take what you play, how you play, and grab and utilize the concept, right? And so you can take ideas, concepts, and you should be practicing them. Now, any concept, any idea, I practice them in 3 ways. I practice them, one, in isolation. Like, let's say I'm learning this lick. I don't know. Mm. Right? I'm learning that lick. So I'm like, okay, let me practice it by itself. Or, so both the major and minor. I analyze the lick to see where it goes. Okay, it looks like it goes over C7 to F major, or to F minor, or even on F sharp. If I'm playing F sharp. Hang on there. All right, so I analyze I analyze the lick, how it's used. Then I put it in a progression, like I just did, and then I put it in song. So I practice it three ways: in isolation, in a harmonic progression, and then in songs. And so that's concepts. I'm gonna touch concepts a lot more throughout, but let's just keep going. All right, repertoire, repertoire. Does everybody know what repertoire is? Those are songs. Those are the things you need to know, right? So, and maybe I think I've referenced this recently. So maybe I'll do another zip file where I present. I give you this stuff. I give you for free this stuff I've listed out. Um, in the jazz world, you have real books. You have lots like the 50 standards that every jazz musician should know, the 150 standards every jazz musician should know. In the gospel world, we have the hymn book, right? But that doesn't represent like every gospel song you should know, especially today, or like the traditional gospel songs you should know. There are a number of traditional songs that are not in the hymn book that are extremely popular. So I started doing a list of all the songs I need to know, and it's I don't know what the number is now. It's pretty high. So this is repertoire songs that you need to know for your particular craft or particular genre of music, and so you need to be working on these songs all the time. So it's funny. I just read a practice journal from 2015 where I was working on the song "I Will Bless the Lord." Um, it's funny because I'm actually working on that song again right now. I've been practicing that for the past, I don't know, couple weeks, just kind of just trying stuff with that song. I find it's a really cool song. There are a number of hymns that are on my list to practice as well. Let's see, another one is "To God Be the Glory." That's another hymn. That's on my list and when I say practice it, really get it like get really dig into it so you know it. So when you hear it, it's like, oh, this little light of mine. Oh, that's a song I know. It's part of my repertoire. Or whatever field you're in. So if you're in the jazz world, the basic stuff like Autumn Leaves, Blue Boss, on Green Dolphin Street, all the things you are. You have your I Could Write a Book, Days of Wine and Roses. You have Take Five. You have your so so many of your basic songs that you gotta know, and then there or not in Tunisia, and then there are some more advanced ones that are like the next level up that you need to know as well, right? So whatever that stuff whatever your context is, whatever your genre is, there are songs that you need to know. And so you always should be working on a repertoire. You always should be adding songs to your repertoire. Um, yeah, it's amazing to me. Sometimes I hear like, a singer came up and I didn't know this particular song, right? And so that's okay if you didn't know that song. But then like they'll say, well, but I ask maybe like, did you practice it later? Do you know it now? Like, no, I don't know it now either. Like, wait a minute, you know, go learn it. It's required reading, right? So you got to. Now, here's the question: where do you learn repertoire from? This is a great question. Let's see. That's my question for you all. Let me know in the chat. Where do you learn repertoire from? Where do you learn it? I want to see. Where do you learn repertoire from? Someone please let me know. Where do you learn it? Let me speak properly. From where do you learn repertoire? Bob Frisch says, I learned by ear from YouTube. Okay. Amar says, you. Jeffrey says, recordings. Anthony says, YouTube. Noriko says, jam sessions. All right. Okay. Cephas says, recordings. And yes, you got it. From the record, So that's kind of old jazz lingo from the record, right? Alan says from real books and records. All right. Um, so Alan is a jazz guy. So he says from real books and the record. Okay, I'm gonna talk about that one. All right. So you want to be learning from the record. You want to be learning from the record. You want to learn from the record. All right. Um, I remember uh, I was I was at Clemson University and I was in the jazz band, and the Lincoln Center, Wynton Marsalis and Lincoln Center Jazz Orchestra came into town, and so they performed at our school, and so I got a chance to have a private lesson with the pianist that was with them, and his name he was a New York guy. His name was Michael Wise, Weiss. So Michael Wise, and um, and I had like a million questions for him. How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do this? How do you do that? And literally in the middle of the lesson, he turned to me and he said, "Man, all the answers are in the music." And at that moment, it was like my brain exploded. Like it was like I saw music completely different. Every record has answers to the question. It's like an open book test. Like, okay, how do you play for a gospel guy? How do you play shot music? I just gotta pull up somebody playing shot music, and there it is. That's them playing it. Uh, how do you make the changes on Oleo? I just pull up a record of whoever playing Oleo of my some greats or whoever, and there's the answer. There's one answer. I find another answer. There's another answer. I find another answer. There's another answer. Right? And so all the answers are actually in the music. We have millions and billions of hours of answers to questions, um, to musical questions, that is. And so it changed my view of music. It changed my view of everything, actually. So now every kind of roadblock or obstacle I run up against, for me, it's just a simple question. Like, how do you play on 2-5-1s? What do you play? Well, I just go to the music and find a record where somebody's playing 2-5-1s, which is every song. All right. Now, someone said in the chat that they use real books. Now, here's the problem with real books. Real books. Most real books were created this way. They were assignment for grad students or college students. Actually, not even grad students. I think freshmen in college. And so freshmen were to write down the arrangements for all these different songs. And I've done this. I can randomly pull up any real book, go to any page, and about 9 times out of 10, there's an error on that page. It just is, and I've done it. I've done it many times. I've challenged students: open the real book, go to a page, and then let's go to the record of the artist and see if there's an error somewhere, and there generally is, because they were young college kids creating the real book. All right, so let's not let that be your guide. The real book. Always go to the record. Um, okay. Let's see. Some people have said listen to different artists. Yep. Sheet music. Sheet music is a good choice as well. But the one thing about sheet music is that sheet music doesn't give you the essence of how something was played. Um, what I mean by that is this. Let's say I'm doing this. So let's say I'm doing this. So that's like 4 quarter notes. So you write that, 4 C6 chords and quarter notes. Well, if I was doing this, right? Or like, how would you notate that? That's not 4 quarter notes. It's almost my left hand is playing on the beat. My right hand is playing a little off the beat, right? And I'm like, so, but a lot of times that'll be written the same way. Those two things will be written the same way, and so you should listen to the record to get the interpretation as well. Now, should you listen to the original record? Sure, listen to the original version so you know what it was it intended to be. Sometimes we listen to the redone version, which takes away something from the original version. Now, listen to all the versions. Like the song "I Love You, I Love You, I Love You, Lord" today. That's a song, the first song, gospel song I learned. I just like a year ago went back and listened to the original version, and I was like, oh wow, like that's interesting. I didn't know they did that, right? So, like there was a question, for instance, on that song. I'll show you what I mean. There's a question. Excuse me. So what happens next? What's the next chord? Everywhere you go, they'll play something different. But what was the composer's original chord? Like you hear people go. You hear people go. You hear people go. But what is it supposed to be? You know, all those work, but what was the original, right? So repertoire, and so in repertoire as well, you have these concepts. You have classic gospel moves. You have classic jazz moves. You have that you just have to know. These are part of repertoire as well. Like classic. So that was a jazz thing. You have classic gospel stuff like that's classic gospel that you have to know if you're going to play gospel music. That's part of their repertoire. Whatever style you're playing, there is a classic repertoire that you need to know. Not just songs, but actually moves, harmonic progressions, chordal moves, all these things you have to know. So that needs to be part of your practice session. Repertoire. Okay. The next thing, ear training. Ear training. Now, this is an area that I have really over the past 6 years learned the value of, and ear training has completely transformed my playing. I am ear training all the time. And there are so many areas of ear training. All right, slight little plug. We're almost finished creating the membership site. I was going to give y'all a sneak preview today, but I just ran out of time. I didn't get a chance to put it in this software so you could see it. But we do have a ear training course in there that hits many of these things. Actually, won't hit all of them. So I'm going to go through a list of different kinds of ear training that you need to be doing, right? To develop your ear, like every area of ear training. There's a whole bunch of areas. So get ready. So if you have a pencil and paper, and you might want to write this down. The first thing is just, can you hear pitches? Pitch. P-I-T-C-H. Pitch. And this is like entry level things. So this is like if you're very, very, very much so a beginner. which note is higher, this one or this one, right? That sounds really simple, but as it goes through, it starts getting a little more a little harder, especially if you're new to this. Now, I will tell you this. Um, I'm not I'm not embarrassed to say it just because we all start where we start, but I'll tell you how bad my pitch recognition was when I started. This was when I was 17, 18. I got hired on as the music director at a church, and let me explain how bad my pitch recognition was. Um, I actually thought I was tone deaf for many years because I didn't understand how it worked. Um, uh, when a choir sang, I thought everybody was singing the same thing. I didn't realize each section, like the sopranos, altos, tenors, they were all singing different notes. I thought everybody was singing the same note. I'm not joking. Uh, it's kind of embarrassing now, but it's the truth. I'm trying to tell you how far I've come with my ears. It wasn't till I heard there's this group, Natalie Wilson and SLP Chorale. I was listening to their record. This is back back years ago. Well, I'm seeing 1999. Yep, that's when it happened, 1999. And I was riding in the car, and the tenors were singing one thing, the altos were singing something else, and the sopranos were singing something else. And it was at that moment that I realized they didn't sing the same thing. I was like, oh, wow. So I called one of my director friends. I played for the gospel choir at Clemson, but I was just starting and I didn't know this stuff. So I called one of my director friends and I was like, "Hey, did you know choirs sang in 3 different parts?" He was like, duh." I didn't know. So if you're a beginner, like just understanding different pitches is important, which is higher, which is lower. All right. And so for some of you all who've been in this, that's probably easy, right? And then we get to intervals. Intervals, right? So interval means the distance between 2 notes. So what is this distance? Well, this is it says on screen here, minor second, right? Major third, perfect fourth. It's a tritone. Perfect fifth, minor sixth, major sixth, minor seventh, major seventh, and the octave, right? What about this? Well, it's a minor second, but it's actually a ninth apart. So can you hear that? If I played that for you, would you know what it was immediately? Right? Understanding intervals. If I played this, what interval was that? Would you know what it was immediately? Like, I know. And no, I don't have perfect pitch to be able to I hear the notes and know what they are. But even if you did know, have perfect pitch, these concepts help you, right? So now everybody's always talking about perfect pitch, it's great and it is great. I wish I had it, but you can still, I fool people all the time. People think I have it, but I don't, right? Because I've been working on these other ideas. Okay, let's keep going. So that's intervals. Triads. This can sometimes be a little difficult. Can you hear the difference between a major triad, a minor triad, diminished, augmented, right? Some are easier to hear than others. I've been testing myself, and I think I have relatively great ears now. I've worked on it for many years. And sometimes I'll surprise myself and miss one of these. So, all right, sevenths. So now instead of moving from triads, major sevenths, minor sevenths, diminished sevenths, half diminished sevenths, augmented sevenths. All right. So these are all the things you need to be training your ear to hear. All right, tonal progressions. Right. One, can you hear the tone, like the key center, right? When I started playing at 17, I did not know how to play by ear. I had to learn how to actually hear what key something was in. Um, and so, of course, it's doing the whole try to find the key of what it was in until I got better at it, right? But then tonal progressions. If I played a progression for you, could you play it back to me, or could you tell me what it is? Could you tell me what it was immediately, right? Secondary chords. So if I added other chords outside the key, could you identify them? Like if I was in the key of C, but I gave you this. All right, could you tell me what that chord was? Or could you tell me what I just did there? Just by ear. So you have to train your ear to hear these things. Extended chords, right? So what is that? Can you hear beyond just major triad or four note chord, major seventh? Can we go higher? Can we go ninths, 11ths? Can we mix it up? Right? So can you hear these things? Rhythms, different rhythms, scales, modal voicings. If you hear this, what chord is that? This is a Phrygian. It's a Phrygian sound, so it's based off the Phrygian mode, right? All right. So there's that. But then that's not even it. That's not even the hard stuff. That's more of the easy side. All right. Then you have stuff like melodic dictation, where you hear a melody, and then you gotta determine what it is, not at the keyboard or at your instrument. You gotta be able to say, oh, that's ba ba ba. That's these notes, right? Modal harmony. I just gave you an example of that. Bitonal harmony, reharmonizations, inner note hearing. Can you hear the note on the inside of the chord? Clusters, right? Can you hear this as a G minor chord and get all those notes? All right. So there's so much to ear training besides just, do, re, mi, fa, la, ti, do, and all that stuff like that. Ba, 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 ba. That's good. That's good too. Ba, 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 ba. All that stuff's good. But there's so much more. There's so many different areas of ear training that you need to work on. Oftentimes we only work on a few areas, right? Okay. Let's keep going to the next area. I have 3 more I think I want to talk about. All right. And so are there any questions? Does this make sense? Let me know in the chat. Are there any questions? Or is this making sense? Are you encouraged or discouraged? I know it feels like a lot. But I'm going to throw you an olive branch. So just make sure you're writing these things down. Okay. So here we go. You should always be transcribing something. Always be transcribing something, right? This is where you learn, you get the repertoire, the ideas, the stuff that you need to know that are part of your chosen genre. So you need to be transcribing something. It also develops your ear. That's a way to kind of kill 2 birds at 1 stone, developing your ear. All right. So I won't go more into that transcribing. Let's get to the next one. We're almost at an hour. We're at an hour. All right. The next thing, theory. Right? Theory. So studying up on different theories. Like I have tons of books. Tons of books that I'm studying. Like I will buy a theory book and read it. I just bought a theory book actually like a month ago and read it in like 2 hours. Just devoured it. Just because I'm trying to always feed and give my brain new stuff. So theory, are just whatever it is, getting new ideas to yourself. And so I have courses where I'm giving you theoretical concepts and then we're applying them. Um, so, but it's everywhere. You can check out my courses, which I highly recommend. Um, but my YouTube videos, or any other stuff on YouTube or online, there's a ton of information. I would definitely encourage you to go to books, uh, order my courses, but get some theory information. Okay, another one, sight reading. Sight reading, right? Sight reading. Um, I know many say, uh, I don't I play in this setting that I never use sheet music. Um, um, but you might one day need to for something. And so it's always a great skill to have. So learning how to sight read. Um, well, first learning how to read music, but then also getting better at sight reading, which is a skill. And it a, s- a, a score or something, and then um, playing it. I uh, I think the last time I had to do sight reading was for there was a play, and they were looking for singers were auditioning, and so they asked me, Corey, can you come and be the accompanist for the singers? I said sure. So um, they would call a singer up. I would get the book as the singer's walking to the stage, and I'm feverishly trying to learn a song that they've been practicing for months. I got about 30 seconds. Then it's like, let's go. 1, 2, ready, go. And uh, so you open doors for yourself when you can sight read. Okay. So it's an important skill to work on. Um, and that's for every instrument. You should work on sight reading for violin, trumpet. Doesn't matter your instrument. Um, just work on that skill. No matter the genre, it's an important skill to have. And also, you know, there is so much information written down. There's so much music written down that is like lost to history because we won't go back and read it. All right, it's there for us, but we just don't go back and get it. Okay. All right. So let me go through all the areas again. You want to plan. You want to work on technique. Want to work on concepts, repertoire, ear training, transcribing, theory, sight reading. Um, and so, do you have to work on everything at one time? No. No, not at all. I think you should work on technique every day. I think you should do ear training every day. Um, I think you should be transcribing something every day. Um, and then, so you might say, I'm going to work on this repertoire this day, but this day my practice session is limited, so I can't do it this day. But the next day I'm going to do it. So some other things might possibly, and then it might be that sometimes you are dug in on something, and it's and you can't leave it, and so you just stay there and work it out, right? And that's fine as well. So being flexible. This is not uh, a, a rigid thing. Your practice session is flexible, right? Um, so there you go. All right. So let me go to the chat and see if there are any questions. All right. So Alan Wong says sometimes I try to sing harmony with my instrument just to hear harmony better. Oh, that's a cool idea. Singing harmony with your. That's cool. Uh, Josh says, yes, ear training is so important. My ears can hear better than my eyes can see. Literally, yeah. Leon says, with that being said, should I get away from sight reading? No, you should continue to keep that skill. It's an important skill that you should keep sharp. Um, you might not use it every day, but it's an important skill to have. Any more questions? What author do you recommend for theory? All right, I recommend um, two guys. Mark Levin. He has a couple books. Uh, Jazz Theory and Jazz Piano Theory. The Jazz Piano Book, I think that's what it calls. I think it's the Jazz Theory book and the Jazz Piano book. So I'll write this in the chat. And then there's a new one, the one I just purchased recently, and I just literally devoured it. It was amazing. Yeah, Joe Mulholland. Joe Mulholland. And that's the Berkeley book of jazz harmony. And I know, so some of you might be saying I'm a gospel musician, Corey. Yeah, but as far as how harmony is communicated, um, it's really like classical harmony and then everybody else, right? And so, uh, like classical theory is different than all the other theories, which like jazz theory is like um, has really codified it well. So it doesn't matter if you're not a jazz musician, the theory side of it is the same, you know. So like this chord C7, sharp 9, sharp 5, uh, is that's how you would call it in jazz, right? And that's how you call it in gospel too. So whether I know some people have reservations about doing other styles of music outside of gospel as a gospel musician, but this is how it's called, the naming convention, and these different things, the concepts, what they're called. So, for sure. Okay. How much, Shayla says, how much time do you recommend daily? If you're a professional musician, like this is your thing, this is what you do for a living, then I recommend uh, uh, 2 hours a day. Now, for some, like if you're like at that next level up and you're touring and on constantly, you know, then I know a lot of those guys don't really practice much anymore, just enough to kind of keep up what they have. Uh, but if you're trying to come up, you're on the come up, then 2 hours a day minimum. Let's see. When I was in my 20s, I was doing 4 hours a day. All right. Can you go over additional patterns to do with scales, like when you showed us with the fourth and fifths? I mean, you can keep going sixths and sevenths. You can create patterns. You can do like a, let's do that 1, 2, 5, 7. This kind of move, right? So let's say we're taking the C major scale. 1, 2, 5, 7, right? And let's say like here, right? Oh, sorry. So you just kind of create your own patterns, or just create patterns. Like 1. A great set of patterns like that is like Hannon and Cherney. They give out a lot of great patterns like that, but just kind of create your own. Cephas has asked, how often do you practice technique? I fell into practicing technique scales and neglected learning actual songs. So technique is its own practice session. So for 1 hour, I'll practice hour 15 minutes. I'll practice technique, some technique idea, right? And then another practice session that same day will be all the other stuff, right? Um, Now this is not. Let me be clear. This second practice session is not. This is just a continuation of your technique session, where now you're working on repertoire, transcribing something. This session right here is not your learning for the gig or learning for the service or learning for the engagement, whatever it is that you got going on. That's something else, right? That's I'm preparing for the gig I'm working on, right? Uh, Keith says that Berkeley book is great. Yes, it is. Like I literally devour. What's crazy is uh, that book teaches everything I teach, but it says it in different language. So it's like it was like it was weird confirmation deal. Like, oh, these are things I um, it was just crazy, and I just sat down. I couldn't put it down. I just went through the whole book. Like literally, it was crazy. Noriko says, play the root and sing sharp 11th, for example. Is that ear training? Yeah. Yes. Yes, that's ear training. You're training your ears. Imani says, I'm a beginner. How can I practice? Yeah, Imani, yeah, that's what this like that's what I've been talking about this whole time about how to practice. So you want to plan, you want to practice technique, concepts, repertoire, ear training, transcribing theory, sight reading. How many hours per day? 2 hours. Okay. Fabe says, I'm definitely applying that on both of my instruments. Great. Cool deal. Josiah, how do you practice feel? Okay. All right. That's a great question. That's a great question. Um, all right. Here's how I suggest it. Record yourself. So let's say you're trying to get that Rodney East feel or the Chick Corea feel, whatever feel it is. So take a snippet of something they've done, and then you try to learn it, and record yourself and listen back, and then listen to see if what you play sounds like that, what you're hearing from Chick or whoever you're trying to get this particular feel. And so you want to keep fine tuning how you play it till you get that feel, the sound you're looking for. Free resources for ear training. There are definitely some online for sure. Uh, but stay tuned, Bob. Sign up for our membership, and there's like a really cool ear training course there. Any other questions, y'all? Uh, all right. Any other questions? Any other questions? Gina says, this has been very helpful, Corey. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, Gina. I'm glad you're able to make it back in here after you got booted out. Do you have any recommendations of classical sheet music? Yeah, I have several. Let me. I think I have some right here. Um, let's see. All right, I have, I have a whole bunch. Czerny, Opus 337. Gotta get. Must have. Unbelievable. Bach's two-part inventions. Unbelievable. Uh, this is like kid stuff. It feels kiddish. A dozen a day. I got this when I had to rework my technique. But this is really cool. This is book four, I think, A Dozen a Day by Edna Mae Burnham. Burnham. Uh, let's see. Some more Czerny. Let's see. Chopin's uh, Preludes. Um, Johann Sebastian Bach's Preludes and Fugues. I'm not sure if you can see that. Here we go. I should have been putting them right here. Right. Those are the ones I definitely recommend. So, Czerny, if you can see that. Czerny's Opus 337. Bach's Two-Part Inventions. Here's that Dozen a Day book by Edna Burnham. Some Chopin Preludes. And some Johann Sebastian Bach. And then let me put this back because I want to show y'all two more that I just got. These are like fresh off the press. All right. I think he's Russian. There's a Russian composer named Nikolai Kapustin. And here are two of his works: 8 concert studies, Opus 40, and then 24 jazz preludes, Opus 53. He is the best description I heard of him is he is the classical musician every jazz musician wants to be, and he is the jazz musician every classical musician wants to be. So, uh, his music is unbelievable. It's I don't know, it's phenomenal. So Ade, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Ade. So those are my recommendations, Enrico. A lot. Rodney, Rudney, what's the best way to practice accuracy and speed slowly? I would pull up my and create a diagram for you, but uh, um, so Rudy, make sure you check me out in our office hours, and I will show you a diagram and give you a more detailed answer. Okay. How do you practice memorizing the numbers of the scales? I forgot the proper term. What is the fifth, sixth? Okay. All right. So you mean like from here to here is a major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth. These things. Sixth, major seventh. Is that what you mean? Uh. You just learn them. So major second, half step is a minor second, minor third, and of course, like think about it. If it's a major chord, C major, well, it has this major third right there. The C minor has that minor third. So I guess that's how you just go through them and learn them. Josiah Brown says, I play Jamaican ska. I need to learn about Jamaican ska. I've never heard of that. But I have a big problem improving basic progressions in my regular church service. Well, Josiah, check out the nine passing chords video. That'll help you like really spice up your progressions. Do you have any tricks for coming up with block harmonization under a melody on the spot? Um, Practice different chords with that note, with that melody note in them, and just see which ones you like. Uh, hmm. Okay, so no, kind of says no, like in C major, the fifth is G. Oh, well, just practice, quiz yourself. Like if I'm in the key, like so the first thing you got to know, earpiece. The first thing you got to know is the major scale, right? So you got to know the major scale, and then you just if you're playing C major, you know that's 1 3 5, right? So what's G? The five, E the third, right? And then you just quiz yourself. The second is the second note of the scale. Two. The fourth is the F, right, and so forth and so on. My biggest problem is I'm very little mode but short. I do not reach an octave well. I play on the fifth. All right, so if you can't reach the octave well, um, you can roll up. So you roll up like this, right? So you just roll up, and that'll help you. Garon Gilbert says, "What do you do if you don't?" Jaron Gilbert, I think it's her name. What do you do if you don't have a good foundation but manage your way through on your own to intermediate level? Well, one issue is um, like there are gonna be holes in your musical game. Like there are gonna be areas where you just don't have any information. You didn't even know that you needed to know this, right? Um, and so I would definitely get with a teacher or get a course. So I have a couple of courses, or set up a lesson with a teacher and let them kind of guide you through and make sure you filled up every hole. Like so, I've always had a teacher um, to help me through these things. So it's hard to do it all by yourself because the thing is you don't know everything, and also you can't see yourself. So it's hard to do that. All right. Okay, y'all. We are coming up on almost an hour and a half. All right, I gotta go. So thank you all for sticking in, and make sure you join our community. Make sure you're here in the community, staying up to date. I'll be sending out emails shortly. All right. So again, thank you all so much for being a part. Um, and so until the next one, be blessed and happy practicing.